Namibia is a place of great inspiration, where dedicated people make a difference. At Ongava, our inspiration comes from the land and the life it supports. Our conservation efforts are bold: land reclamation, reintroduction of wildlife, and the creation of a partnership for the future that is vital for the health of the planet and our souls. At home in this eco-region, nestled in the mountains and plains surrounding Etosha, Ongava protects this land while providing visitors with wonderful hospitality, offering comfort, luxury, and a connection to the earth. This is why Ongava exists: ecotourism for the next generation. Central to the design of the new Andersons at Ongava is the connection to the wild, and it is most keenly felt at the waterhole and nearby underground viewing hide level view of the prolific wild and bird life on Ongava Game Reserve, in a setting that inspires intimacy without intrusion.
Welcome to the hide at Anderson's at Ongava. This spectacular hide places you literally within meters of the waterhole. It's partially submerged, so we are unobtrusive, and the animals feel quite comfortable in approaching quite close.
Ensuring a light footprint and an exceptional experience, Anderson's has 7 guest suites and a family unit, maximum of 18 guests. Each suite is designed as a direct extension of the landscape, with a natural stone buttress that draws guests in and engenders a deep sense of place. Using natural elements and luxurious touches, the spacious suites reflect the environment, offering guests a climate-controlled sanctuary in the bush. The ambition of Anderson's at Ongava is to integrate science and research with a luxury African safari experience. Ongava was founded on bold ideas. Taking a lesson from the wild and the power of symbiotic relationships, Anderson's provides an interactive hub where cutting-edge technology meets hands-on field-based research. As a guest at Anderson's, you can absorb the fascinating discoveries of creative science produced by resident scientists, visiting researchers, and conservationists.
Yeah, one of the things that Ongava has become pretty well known for is its preoccupation with camera traps. So we've been using camera traps here for the last 10 and more years. We have a database of something like 9 million photographs taken over many years, over many days, at many waterholes. And these provide all sorts of really interesting and valuable information. For a number of species, we can identify individuals by their spot patterns or their coat patterns, things like giraffe, things like leopards, cheetahs, and others. So we can count the number, we can work out how many individuals there are in the reserve. We can look at age ratios, sex ratios. We can discover when these animals come to drink, how often they come to drink, their relative abundance in different parts of the reserve. So a whole lot of really interesting information. What also turns out to be interesting is that they're probably using these rubbing stumps as some sort of marking post, where by rubbing off pheromones or secretions from their body, they probably leave information for other rhinos about who's who. I mean, each individual probably having a distinct smell, each individual having a smell that would indicate whether it's a male or female, what sort of age, what sort of reproductive condition. If it's a female coming into heat, that would be of interest to the bulls in the area. So these rubbing posts at least seem to serve some sort of communication post. And then what was interesting over and above that is how many other animals come along and sniff. And you might see an elephant walking past one of these, this post here. And as it walks past, it just puts its trunk over the post, has a quick smell, and then walks on. So you can't help feeling that a lot of other animals are picking up information from this rubbing post. And some of the animals, in fact, rub themselves on that post. So that was, just a lot of fun to watch these videos as they came in when we took them off the camera trap, and to see what was going on there, seeing animals that we had never expected to pay any attention to a rubbing post.
So we've been setting up that visitor center, setting up all the displays and what to say, what could be interesting for other people, and mostly it was a great experience in learning how to explain the science, like what we found, what we talk about, the tracking, the statistical analysis and all that, trying to translate that into something that people who are not familiar with the concept can actually understand. I think that we managed to have kind of that in-between, stating the fact and really saying what we know right now in a way that every people can understand, and in a level that if you just want to look at the images or at the pictures, then you get what we're trying to say. But if you want to go deeper, there is a lot of text to read, and there is us just next door. So you can basically come and talk to us and ask us more specific questions and how it relates to Ongava itself, but also of what is done basically all across Africa and all across the world, because a lot of themes are actually really the same at this stage. It's just trying to understand how ecosystem works and how we can protect them the best we can, allowing for human activities. So getting to that, there's different, I guess, different topics that we can touch on. The first one is obviously the tracking of animals. It's been a revolution since now we can actually stick collars or other tracking device on animals. Not only large carnivores, there's a lot of tracking on large carnivores, but we can now also track birds all across the world. We can also track butterfly, believe it or not, and all other type of animals. And this tracking, you hear a lot about tracking, GPS, satellite, VHF. So basically the purpose of tracking is allowing us to know where an animal is, not yet what it's doing exactly, where an animal is without us being in the field.
So a few years ago, we decided to look at leopard movements on Ongava and the habitat that they were using. The reason for this study was we were perplexed by the fact that we were seeing leopard at waterholes on occasion, and through camera trap data, where we've got a remote sensing camera based at a particular point on the property at a waterhole, we were seeing these cats, but we weren't seeing them regularly on game drive, with guests, and through management observation around the property. So we really didn't know what areas they were using on Ongava, how many they were, and we wanted to answer this question. So we set about a small project which involved the immobilization of 2 leopards, 1 male and 1 female, and we were going to put GPS collars on these leopards and track their movements around the property, so we could get a better understanding of the spatial utilization on Ongava and what they were doing. Okay, so we successfully collared a male and a female, and we started to get some quite interesting information about their movements around the property. If you look at this 3D model below us, it's a 3D model of Ongava. There's a black line around it which shows the property. On that end, on the northern side, is Etosha National Park, and then all around the southern and eastern and western sides is commercial cattle farms. There's 2 different colors that are visible on the map. One is blue and one is red-orange. The blue is the male and his movements. Every dot and line is a GPS coordinate of that animal moving around the property, and the same for the red, that's the female. Interestingly, there seems to be quite a lot of difference in the habitat that these 2 animals were using. The female stuck to the sort of hilly, rocky spine range that we have that runs east-west through Ongava, and she stayed pretty much for the whole study period in that quite exclusive geographical environment. The male, on the other hand, moved right across the property, and we had him on the plains, in the hills. He really utilized probably 2/3 of Ongava, about 200 to 250 square kilometers. The other interesting thing that we noticed was that the female seemed to move outside the property a little bit, whereas the male did not. We have electrification on our southeast and western borders to stop animals moving, large carnivores moving out of Ongava into farmland where they come into conflict with people. Now that electrification is quite impermeable for large carnivores such as spotted hyena and lion, but the female seemed to be able to, at not regular intervals, but every now and again, seemed to be able to get over the fence into the neighboring farm and come back to Ongava. So it's an interesting observation that we noticed about the permeability of electric fences to smaller predators, climbing predators such as leopard. Given the goals of our study, which was to try and understand habitat use on Ongava by leopard and why we weren't seeing these cats regularly, the study was a success. It became pretty clear that leopard are here and in numbers, but because of the type of habitat we have, the thick mixed Mopani felt we have, and the rocky dolomite hills, they are often in areas which are inaccessible to vehicles. It was fantastic that the study that we did on a local area on our game reserve has had further application in the greater scientific world.
So the importance that it has for sharing the information is with the biodiversity and having all of this genetic diversity, we would like to identify the unique aspects. And what we call in a biodiversity context is these hotspots. So these are areas that are very much extremely variant, so diverse in species numbers and within the diversity of the species for the survival. And we really think these will be unique areas that's going to be very important for the preservation of it. So hopefully, at the end of the day, with any researchers, if we're able to identify these areas or these unique individuals, it's what a lot of people would like to see, because tourism will come for animals, some will come for landscape. Obviously, I'm not quite sure which one's the most, but they will come and see. They want to come and see Africa specifically in a state of being natural. Coming from overseas specifically, I would imagine. Coming here trying to see everything as natural as possible. And with the information we could provide is, to ensure it stays as natural as possible and that there's as minimal influence as can be.